science has proven over time that the more you do an action, the closer the neurons that are connected to that action get in your brain. The more you fire off that pattern, the closer these neurons get, and it creates a very well-worn groove. And you've got to interrupt that groove and show your brain a new way of being.
Today we're talking with Orna and Matthew Walters, and we're talking with them about having love on purpose.
Yay, I'm really
They
excited.
have a brand new book out. It's absolutely phenomenal. I made my way about 3/4 of the way through yesterday.
Good job.
And their concepts are very different, and I'm really excited to bring them on. They partnered with Jack Canfield, Les Brown. They've been on multiple TV interviews around the US, and it's just going to be absolutely phenomenal. But first, Lianka would like to start with some space weather.
Yeah, thumbs up if you, I know that you can hear me because I know Lisa said hi. So just wanted to make sure everybody's doing good and feeling really great. And if you're not, it might be because of the Mystic Space Weather News. So let me jump in. Today's Mystic Space Weather News comes to us from spaceweather.com. And this is all from NOAA, so this isn't some Instagram place. It's all cited and sourced. So geomagnetic storms are likely today. It says minor G1 class geomagnetic storms are likely on March 13th as the Earth passes through a magneticized, love how I can just pronounce certain words, stream of solar winds. High latitude observers should be alert for auroras during the total lunar eclipse. And the total eclipse of the moon is tonight. The full warm moon is about to pass through Earth's shadow, producing a total lunar eclipse. So the lunar eclipse report comes to us from the Pleiadian message. And so I'll just read a little bit real quick. It says the lunar eclipse of the 13th, 14th, so over the night, on March 14th is bringing forth a strong divine feminine energy activation in preparation for a divine masculine energy activation on the solar eclipse by the end of the month on the 29th. And this is important. Y'all listen to this part. As the equinox portal opens on March 20th, it creates an intersection of timelines in the quantum field, making the higher timelines more accessible in the coming astrological year. The lunar eclipse serves as a catalyst for resetting. We hear that a lot, akin to clearing a mother's womb to welcome a new life. It embodies the energy of the void, and it's manifesting in stillness and darkness, a feminine force. The energy invites us to surrender into the unknown, cultivate trust, and being ready to receive. This process also involves the nervous system recalibration and a DNA clearing, preparing you for a light body and crystalline activation during the solar eclipse. Isn't that exciting? Like it really is about the resetting. And during this time, we really are feeling a lot of those ascension energies, especially as we're in this geomagnetic storm right now. There's a stream of charged particles that are coming from that hole we talked about last time. So just remember what I always say, drink water, do your grounding exercise, and give yourself grace. That's what I got for Mystic Space Weather News.
Mic dropper.
Yay. I like that. So how are you doing, Jen? How's it going?
So with my morning brew and woo, today I kind of had an epiphany last night. I don't know if other people have already had this epiphany.
Okay.
But I have been in this 3-day ClickFunnels training. ClickFunnels is an app we use. But what I found is they just have a bunch of millionaires that talk to you for 3 days.
That's not a bad thing, right? Surround yourself with surround yourself with the 5 most people that you want to emulate. Okay. I'm down.
Yeah. And what I really got out of it was something really simple that we talk about often.
Okay.
And it's the chicken or the egg. Do your thoughts create your reality, or do your feelings create the thoughts that create your reality?
So the chicken and egg, you're saying which one comes first and which one's second,
Right.
right? Okay.
And what really creates your reality? And
Okay.
I was just like, well, clearly it comes from like the energy you are, your feelings, your being.
Right. We always talk about that.
And then after this training, I'm like, wait a second though. If you are just living a familiar
I think
life,
those are two different things,
where
actually.
you're getting up, brushing your teeth, you're thinking about coffee, you're
Okay.
thinking about shower, you're living a regular, boring old day. How many new thoughts actually come in your head? None, because you go from the feeling of it. Anyway, it was just kind of a moment that I was like, I'm going to think about this. So there you go, something to think about for the weekend.
So what did you really come up with though?
I think if you want to live a boring old life, you create based on your feelings first.
But I don't want a boring life.
If you feel like it, you'll do it, right?
Okay.
If you wake up and go, I don't feel like it,
Sometimes
then you just don't do it.
Well, sometimes you do it because you have to, but but okay, so but that's kind of like kind of dredging through your life, like unconscious life,
Right.
right? So unintentional living.
Right.
So intentional living would look like intentional thought, like you put thought behind something and then you do it.
Correct.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I bet Orna and
Matthew
are going to speak to us about it, about being intentional today. I have a feeling.
I have a feeling, and that's why the epiphany was a good
Yeah,
time.
yeah, very cool.
All right, let me go ahead and bring them up. Give them a formal welcome. Hello, my beautiful friends.
Exciting.
Oh my God, and congratulations on your book, you guys.
Thank you.
You just
Thank
came
you
out in
so
January.
Oh, that's exciting. Wow. So
Yeah.
this year, oh my gosh, what a great year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a long time in the making, but
Yeah.
it's fun to hold her now that she's here. Yes, she.
It's a she baby.
So tell us
She's
a little bit of,
baby.
yay. Tell us a little bit about them and kind of some of the places that some of the accolades.
The accolades.
Yeah.
I'll go the accolades first and then the personal stuff second.
Sure.
They have traveled all over the US. They've been on CBS,
Yeah.
and all the other big channels. They've done things with Les Brown. They've spoke on big stages. And what mainly I hear and the stories I hear is if you want to find the love of your life, they are the coaches that you go to.
And you mentioned that Jack Canfield actually wrote the foreword to their book. Like Jack Canfield, that's amazing. Wow.
Yep. Who also said they're the go-to people.
Oh, nice.
Something
Very
to add
nice.
to.
Yes.
So I wanted to start today. Oh, and just some of the little nuggets behind the scenes. I had an energetic pull one day on Facebook to reach out to this girl named Orna Benari. And and she was just dating Matthew at the time.
Wow.
And that was just like this kind of pull. And we got on the phone, we talked for a few hours, and she was kind of still finding what she wanted to do in her life
Okay.
at the time, and it grew from that. So I've really watched them just grow up in love together.
Nice.
And when you're with them, and maybe you can even sense it now, you just sense this like warm, adoring, authentic
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's couples in your life and things aren't going exactly right. But in their case, it's always been the smooth rolling plane. It's just so delicious to watch. I never have a conversation about Orna complaining about Matthew.
Oh.
I have conversations about Orna complaining about many other things.
That's what girlfriends do, right? I love
Right.
it. I love it. Well, awesome. Let's jump in.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I really got from the book, like the overarching theme, is actually very close to what we do here, and it's really about being authentic. I would like to start and have you share your love story and share, especially in Orna's case, because I know the past, what really changed when you met Matthew? What was changing on the inside of you?
Wow, that's a loaded question. First off, I just want to say hi, Leonka and Jenna. Thank you so much for having us here, and everybody else listening in. Thanks for joining us. It's just our pleasure to be here today. And what was changing? You said about this epiphany about, is it your thoughts or your feelings? And in the book, we talk about a think, feel, do cycle.
Mhm.
But to break it down, we go the opposite way.
Well, because that is
You
how
feel
create
things, because
lifeline
it's
purpose.
easier to look at your actions and then your feelings, and then it's the hardest places to go to the thought that triggers the feeling, the emotion.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
ultimately, I think when you say what changed within me it's not one thing. It was a lot of things. Back when I was really struggling as a single person, we didn't get together till after 40. And for most of my life, I didn't know if I would get married or even if I wanted to get married. I wasn't a girl that dreamed about her wedding day or anything like that. I used to ditch the bouquet toss when I was at a wedding.
No, I know.
I was like,
I'm
"Boy." And the gal behind me
My
catches
shoe
it.
needs
Yeah.
to be tied right now.
When I decided I really wanted a great love relationship, I realized that I had no skills in that arena. And so I kind of treated it like I would any other thing that I wanted to learn to do. I thought, okay, I'll start studying love. And the
Let me
the
ask
way
a
people,
question real
yeah.
quick. Did you decide that you wanted love or wanted to play in the marriage field before you met your spouse? Or
Oh,
did
yeah. Oh,
okay,
gosh.
so this was
Many
an
years
intentional
before.
thing. Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, okay.
I was working in the film industry. I worked long hours. I was married to my job. And then there was
Yes, I got
a time when
that.
I realized I don't want to be married to my job. And I looked all around and everybody there was married to their
Yep.
job. And I thought,
I've worked in media for a long time. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I was like, eek, like I don't like this track that I'm on. And so I started asking myself at the end of meditation, like, what do I really want? And the answer came like lit up right in my third eye. It's a purple hue backdrop, LOVE. And I thought,
Oh.
Wow.
no. Like,
I'm glad I asked the question then. Oh my gosh.
like,
Yeah.
no, I don't know how to do that. I was like, no, I was begged God, like, please, God, please, something else. I have to want something else because I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do love. Oh, and so every day I was like waiting for another answer. Like, what do I really want? What do I really want? Love. What do I really want? And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna have to commit to figuring this out. And ultimately, the desire to have great love, I think, is the number one thing that propels somebody forward to start looking in the mirror to say, well, then what do I have to change so that I can show up in such a way where a beloved life partner comes into my
Yes.
life? And so I didn't have any skills, so I had to learn them. But conventional wisdom is like, oh, just choose somebody from a good family. And that just, oh my gosh, that struck terror in my heart because I come from a horrible family. They're terrible. So much toxicity, abuse, chaos, you name it. So
Yeah.
I was like, no, 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 like that can't be the answer because then nobody will ever pick me.
Well,
And
so
you, mister, what do you want to say?
Nah.
What do I want to say about all this?
I wanted to hear what was going on inside of you before you met Orna.
Oh, that's a good question.
So I go back a couple of years. I met somebody and we did this intense 2 week relationship. And it was like it blew me away. I was like I was falling so hard for this woman and like 2 weeks in she pulls me aside and says, "You know, I can see that you're a lot more into me than I am into you and I'm going to end this now because if I wait a couple of months it's going to hurt a lot worse." And I was just like devastated. And and after a couple of days of really just feeling all the feelings, I looked in the mirror and I said, wait a minute, this is a pattern. This is kind of like, this is how I do it. You know,
Smart.
it's either intense and painful or it's just no fun at all. And so I said, I can't do this anymore. I have to look at myself and say, who am I being? How am I being in relationship and how can I change it? And so I got real intentional. In fact, New Year's Day of 2007. So we met, well, we knew each other, but we started dating in September of 2007. New Year's Day of 2007, I was at a vision board party that a friend of mine hosted every year. And I put together this vision board, and I was clear that relationship was one of my key goals. I
Nice.
have pictures on that vision board of 3 different women with dark curly hair.
No
Wow.
way. Listen
And
up, gentlemen. Listen up.
and then in May, I met another woman with dark curly hair, and we
Oh,
started
okay.
dating. And it was the old pattern. It
Uh-huh.
was, oh, I kind of like you, but I don't, but I kind of like you, but I don't. And I'm like, how can I, and it was just
Yeah.
ugly. And I got to the end of
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I'm gonna break this pattern for good. So what do I need to learn? What is it that I'm doing that's causing me in this same pattern? And I went, oh, it's all about self-acceptance for me. I'm, was it 22 years sober this year? And thank you. And so much of that was about not liking myself and chasing rejection and all of those things. And so I thought I'd cleaned it up, but then she showed up to go, wait, there's a little bit left. There's another piece here that you got to get rid of. And I went, okay, so that's it. So that it's about self-acceptance. So flash forward, Orna and I started dating. And we're at her place and she's making dinner. And I make some self deprecating joke about myself. And she sort of stops and looks at me and says,
Wait a second. Wait a second. You
Be
can't.
nice. I bet
Yeah,
she
be
said,
nice
I'd be
to
nice
this guy. Be nice to this
Oh.
guy. I like him. You don't have to change anything. You show up as you're perfect as you are, like as a general sense. Because I was telling him the stuff I was working on for myself. I'm
Yeah.
perfectly imperfect was one of my mantras around that time. I'm
Yep.
perfectly imperfect,
I love it.
and so I kind of reflected that back to him.
And
And
for-
what happened for you, babe?
for the first time in my life, I didn't in my mind argue with her. I didn't say, "Oh, wait, you'll get to know me and you'll see. There'll be things you don't like. I'm not so perfect." Instead, I went, "Oh, that feels really good."
Oh.
I was able to hear it and accept it, and I part of me like knew I'm home. Here's my place. I found it.
And I gotta say, that gal, the summer he dated before we started dating, I love her because she made me look so good. I remember when he told me
to set up your spot.
I was like, wow. And I will tell you just a little bit of my coming in for the landing, sort of the home stretch.
I love it.
For years, I went camping over Memorial Day weekend in Big Sur. And oh my gosh, if you've not been to Big Sur, it is just a glorious spot. One of the most amazing places on planet Earth where the mountains meet the sea in a very dramatic landscape. And it's spiritual and sacred. And there's just so many great places there. And so I had been doing that for over a decade with friends from college. And this one trip, like a bunch of people were coupled up, and I wasn't the only single person, but I think I might have been the only single gal. And there I was in my tent at night, with my headlamp reading this little book, If the Buddha Dated. And I was like, oh, I want this. Like, I really want worship. And so I remember the last morning we were there, I got up before our group and I hiked up to this big flat rock looking out over the ocean, like one of those amazing, dramatic Big Sur views. And I had this conversation with God and I said, okay, God, hey, hi, Orna here. So I really would like to share my life with somebody. I'm happy on my own. I really think I'm supposed to share my life with somebody, but I've done everything I can think of doing. So if there's something else that I'm supposed to do, you're gonna have to like flash a neon sign or land it in my lap because I'm fresh out of ideas. Like I think I'm ready. And so just let me know what's next. And then at the time, I had my own coaching business with some tools, and I would volunteer at these charity events. So, like within a week after coming back home from Big Sur, I was at this charity event doing my thing. And all of the, like the little mystics corner, we would all trade, stuff after the event. And so, the end of the night, this psychic says, "Oh, do you want to trade?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I don't remember so much about this. Like I wish I would have known. Like I would have taken better notes if I would have where my life was heading so I could give you more details. But I know she opened her tarot deck and said, ask a question, pull a card. And so I'm pretty sure I didn't say my question out loud. I don't think she asked me to say it out loud, but I know my question was something like, is there something I need to do? Like basically that same question that I had asked in Big Sur.
Yeah.
What, am I ready? What, where is, what, something, I don't remember. So I pull the card, don't remember which card. Sorry. I know the deck, but I don't remember. And she looks at the card and literally like this, she goes, oh, you're ready, but he's not. So you're kind of in a holding pattern. And I was like, holy moly. You're like, ask God, answer received. I was like, okay. So that, this is Memorial Day weekend, right at the beginning of summer. So that summer, I dated more than I'd ever dated in my life. I went places I would never. I was like, okay, I was just told I'm ready. I'm in a holding pattern. And I was like, well, then I just have to be visible. Like I have
to be outside of the house.
Sure. No, seriously.
So I was like, I went to
that's
parties
good
I never
advice.
went to before. I went to places where I didn't know anybody at an event. If somebody wanted to set me up, I said yes. I was dating more than I had ever. I was like, yes. I just said yes. Somebody was like, do you want to? Yes, before they're even done asking me.
Very cool.
Question.
Yeah.
And then this guy calls me straight out of the business networking group that we were both part of, like right out of the handbook. Hello, Orna, this is Matthew Walters. I'd like to have a one-on-one networking meeting with you so I can better refer business to you. Like literally right out of the handbook. And I said,
I'm so busy, I'll call you back.
I did. I said, I'm in the middle of like 17 things. Can I get your number and I'll call you back?
And she didn't, so I had to call her back a week later.
Yeah.
Oh, good job.
I had not called and he called again. Like, hello.
Nice.
Hello, this is Matthew. And now I was like a little bit embarrassed that I hadn't. Yeah, I did have I actually kept it. It was like on one of those memo pads we used to keep, for phone messages.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I still have the original, like where I wrote Matthew Walters in his phone number. I have it somewhere. I ended up keeping it. But I remember when he called and we set this networking, breakfast of all things. And I showed up, okay, blah, blah, blah. And we had so many, we sat there and talked. We didn't talk about business. We talked about so many things.
How fun.
And the shift changed and somebody tried to take our lunch order. I mean, we were there for a very long time. And when we departed, he walked me to my car and I still remember turning back, to look at him. And I don't know. I think I don't think it was conscious, but I think on some level I knew I was going to share my life with this person.
Wow.
So I have a Matthew question.
Yeah.
So did you choose her to have that meeting because she had dark curly hair?
I didn't. It wasn't part of my conscious. So
it was probably blown out straight anyway.
It might have been.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So we had been going to this one networking meeting once a month for a year, and we'd actually never spoken to each other because we were both part of what was called the welcoming committee. We hosted our own table. And so she always sat at a different table than the one I was at. And for some reason, she wasn't on the committee that 1 month, and she sat at my table.
Oh, cool.
And I've always been searching. I've always been learning. I've always been growing. I've always been wanting to know more about myself and to grow and become a better version of me. And when Orna was talking about what she did as a coach, she said, well, I'm very intuitive. I use my intuition. And she must have said the word intuition like 20 times. And I'm like, I need to talk to her. And in fact, it was like there was this light over her head shining on her. And I don't know what it was. I wasn't thinking I need to date her. I was just thinking, I need to talk to this person. And then once we started talking, it really took off from there.
You got to say when you asked me out on the
first
day.
I want to get into some of this because
that's
a
true.
lot of what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
A lot of what we're talking about sounds magical. And I don't want to make this point because it's really important because magic is a part of it. Magic's a part of everything, right? And you always got to leave space for magic. However, magic is not a plan. And I think sometimes when we get in the space of magic, we want magic to just be the plan. If I just visualize it and I think about it and I'm clear about what it is, it's just going to happen.
It's only a piece of it. Yeah.
But that's only a piece. One of the
Uh-huh.
monks at our spiritual center once said this, and I think this is really important. He said, pray to God as if God is your only answer and act as if God does not exist.
Mm.
Wow.
Pray as if
Mhm.
God is your only answer and act as if God does not exist. Because it is the action.
Yes.
Like Orna always says to me, she says, look, miracles come through people. They don't come from somewhere else. Miracles come through people. So you have to be out meeting
Uh-huh.
people. You have to be out doing things in order to receive those miracles. They don't just come and knock on your door like they're bringing a pizza to you.
Yeah, that's why I was like, okay, I'm ready. So then I just have to be out there and I'll meet this guy.
Yeah.
And then what I asked God, but how did the answer come? Through a person. Through the I
Yeah.
don't know that woman's
Yes.
name.
And
You know,
a
I don't remember my
tarot
card.
card.
I pulled, I remember nothing. And what I think is so powerful about that is I promise you, when you meet your beloved, it's going to feel magical, right? It will feel
Mhm.
amazing. But getting to that place, you're not going to know instantly that somebody is your person.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people take that like as a downer. And I think that's not a downer because they're for the right person. Like like people will say things like, pick somebody from a good family or someone who is of good character. But like every person of good character isn't your person. That doesn't make someone your person.
Sure.
Like there is a recipe. And so people tend to go, okay, if I'm attracted to this person, they go all in on that. If they get burned a number of times that way, they start trying to leave chemistry out of the equation.
Mhm.
Chemistry for us is like a tick box. It's like, oh, do I find this person handsome, attractive, sexy? Yes, check. Okay,
Yeah.
check. What else
So
is there?
subtle.
Because
not
it's
about-
only one. Well, it's only one ingredient. Like if
Right.
you're making bread, you don't just have flour and water. You need
Right.
you need a little
Yeah.
pinch of salt. You need the yeast so the bread rises. Otherwise you get a cracker. You're not satisfied with a cracker if you want bread. Let's face it. You go to the cupboard and there's only a cracker. You're wanting to make a sandwich. You're like, well, this isn't going to do it. So
Right, agreed.
you need all the ingredients, right?
Uh-huh.
And so it takes time to know if somebody has, for instance, the capacity to meet your needs. Which
Mhm.
I find is the number one thing that people leave out on their search and their quest to share their life with somebody. Let's face it, it's the number one single most important decision you'll ever make,
Yep.
who you share your life with. And people treat it like a lottery ticket.
Yeah, they do. Wow, that's
Interesting.
profound.
That's kind of a good
And it'll
thing.
affect every single part of your life more than anything else. And so you don't, when we pop out of the womb, right, we're told everything in life we should work at, right? Career, our health, our knowledge, all of those things, right? Practice, gain skills, learn, grow, all of that stuff. Except love. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, someday going about like our mundane activities, we're just going to meet cute at Starbucks and poof, And I know for some people it does happen that way. So let's talk about why love is easy for some people, because we all know those people, Jennifer.
Can I
And,
say something before you start that?
Yeah,
Right.
because I know
So
for you,
love was
that's
easy
your
for
love of
me.
your life.
But
Much,
what I found through reading the book is I actually loved myself, and I thought I was an extremely great catch. And, and a lot of that was my ego just raining down on me, right, in my 20s. I thought I was hot and I was strutting my stuff, and everyone would want me.
Yeah.
Like I actually had that
But that's
frequency going on throughout me. And as I read the book, I was like, I actually did have the ingredients set.
and
that
that's a
set
lot
me up.
easier. That's a lot easier too when
Yeah.
you're in your 20s. I feel like can be. No, I can be.
well, you
I don't
also
know.
grew
I'm,
up
like,
in a
strutting my
really
stuff
loving
again.
home with two loving parents.
true. That is very true. Very true.
Confidence in yourself
That's true.
grew within you as part of your personality, I think, too, because I know a lot about you and your charts and blah blah. So, but I think you came in with that. But I mean, Matthew and I believe we pick our parents, right? Like
I do too.
Absolutely.
from the astral realm, I think we pick our parents. So I know one of my life lessons is to learn to value myself. So of course I chose a family where I wasn't valued so that I could learn it on my own. And Janice, I think you picked a family where you were very much valued and loved. So that in some way makes what we're talking about. For some people, love is not the struggle part. Love is the easy part because of the nature of we all have different life arenas that we're gifted in, and arenas that are sort of challenge arenas, like where you need a tutor. And so I think it's important to know that there are those people. I'm sure you've all heard of those people where, they're married to their high school sweetheart. One of my cousins, he passed away recently, but they were married for like over 60 years or something. And she said, I said, what's this? I asked her, because I've asked for decades when I've met couples that are married for a long time. I was like, what's your secret? And she actually said they always had hot sex, which I thought was so funny.
It's a good secret.
She cut to the chase. But I do think that when you it really throws people off, I think, because I've literally, since I was 20 something, I've been asking couples, like, what's your secret? What's your secret? I've always been curious about how people perceive what is that secret that keeps them together.
Interesting.
Because I think it's something that we think is going to happen by accident. And there's this misconception, because when you look at how you do anything in life, that your intention about it, and when you're purposeful about it, and when you take control over the things that you have control of, then you can make your way through it with ease. Because when the problem is outside of you, which most people want to make, right? I mean, they want to make that problem, about men in general or women in general. I mean, sometimes when we have
how old you are,
where you live,
right? We've had clients who live in small rural communities and clients who live in like New York and LA, and they all complain that where they live is the problem.
Or London,
right?
Or Warsaw.
Where they live is the problem, and it can't be everybody where they live is the problem, right?
Planet Earth is the problem.
Oh my God, people are the problem.
Only half of the world.
If only I want, if only I could find an alien to share my life with,
Well, a lot of the people on the stream do.
Yeah, that's true. Then when we find each other, we find out that we're all
aliens.
aliens.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Well, now dating apps are the problem. And
Okay.
dating apps are tools. It's a tool.
They are tools, yes.
That's
And
all
so
it is.
it's an inanimate object, so it can't be the problem. It may be that how you're using the tool is the problem.
Sure.
Not learning
Yeah.
how to use the tool, or your reluctance to use the tool.
Yeah,
I was
agree.
like the last one of my friends to do any online dating. I mean, there wasn't a dating app back when I was single, but I was definitely the last one of every single one of my friends. I was like, nope, 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 nope. And then finally, okay.
And today, it's how people are meeting each other, and I do find some really friends that are, at their wedding saying, "I'm glad I swiped right." And so,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the number
Because
one way people meet their spouse.
everybody on the app, well, not everybody, but it is the largest pool of people who are
Sure.
looking for a relationship.
Sure.
You go to a bar, you don't know if somebody's single or not. You're hanging out at Starbucks talking to the cute woman or cute guy in front of you. You don't know if they're single or not. You go to an app and you could probably assume that most of those people are single looking for love.
Sure.
And so if that's where all the people who are single looking for love are, that's where you should be. If you're looking for a job, you're not going to, get on a dating app. You're going to go to LinkedIn. You're going
Right.
to go to the place where people are doing what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your process, because I think that that's the most dynamic. One of the themes within the book is really about loving yourself. Do you want to talk? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
thank you for that. I mean, the most important relationship you're ever going to have is the one you have with yourself. And so
Okay.
this isn't a dating book. I want everybody to understand this is not a dating book. This is a book of life skills. There's emotional mastery is in here. There's
That's awesome.
how to
Yes.
turn conflict into a deeper connection. I think so many people throw out the baby with the bathwater because they're in this great relationship and then there's a conflict and they don't know how. Most people are conflict avoidant. Like, oh my gosh, we had a disagreement. Oh, this must not be my person. And they move on. They're trying to find somebody they never have conflict with.
Or they
Conflict
move
part of
on
the-
while they're in the relationship, right? Like
Mhm.
I was married before, and I moved on while I was in the relationship, way before we actually signed the paperwork to get done with. So like I threw out my my baby with the bathwater because I didn't know any better. I was really, really young, right? And luckily that wasn't my person, but I made it a point to learn a lot more about myself before I got into another relationship again, before I got
Well,
married again.
And that's the part that you have to give yourself credit for is go, oh, wait, I don't know how to do this. Let me learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
instead of thinking, oh, it's just going to magically happen one day.
I mean, we made all the mistakes you could make in love before we ever became love coaches.
No,
It's
I
not
love
like,
this too.
Yeah.
I thought about,
yeah,
I
go
was going
ahead.
to say, I thought about Orna doing that prayer and saying, sitting there and like, God, love really, and like, I really want this, and the whole process. And I'm sitting here, and she's sitting with that book behind her. Y'all have the, Love on Purpose right here on the screen. And I'm thinking, wow, like this stuff really, really works. So I just wanted you to finish that. And I wanted people to realize that how magical, but how intentional this really is. It
Exactly.
can come to fruition. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And the
there's
whole
there's
process.
three sections in the book, right? And Jennifer, you
Yes.
brought up the first section because the first section is awareness. And awareness means you're becoming aware of your thought patterns. You're becoming aware of your emotional stories. You're becoming aware of the core wound that's driving your choices in relationship. And this is really key. This is the piece that really, for us, is a game changer because you think about a newborn baby. They don't come into the world thinking that all men are going to cheat, right? They don't come into the world thinking, oh, women are just looking to get my money. They come into the world and they give love and receive love freely from anybody because they're like the physical embodiment of the energy of love. And then they're born into this very real, very 3D family that has a dynamic, that has their own wounding stories. And suddenly they start learning that love is conditional, that love requires them to be different than who they authentically are. And there's a gap. There's this gap between the way we desire to be loved and the way the people who raise us are capable of loving us. And in that gap, we take on a decision. And that decision becomes the core wounding story, what we call your love imprint. And it goes like this because children are really great at taking full responsibility in this dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
When you're 3, 4 years old, you're not capable of saying, well, gee, mom, that's not really helpful. What would be great is if you gave me a hug, told me everything's going to be okay and that you love me, right? We don't have that capacity. And it's oftentimes not even a safe environment to say something like that. Instead, we say, what is wrong with me that my parent is behaving this way?
Mm-hmm.
And we take on a wounding story. And then we take on a strategy and we take on beliefs that support that wounding story. And then when we become adults, that wounding story becomes our GPS for love.
The love imprint.
Yeah.
And so your love imprint is made up of your limiting beliefs about love and your mental, emotional patterns and your behavioral strategies for giving and receiving love. And so it's kind of like an egg that's made up of 3 parts, right? It's complex. We're complex as people. And so this love imprint is the thing that your subconscious mind drives you to find more people that fit that.
Oh.
Fit that. So in other words, according to the brain science of attraction, we are attracted to what is familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you how this works because the subconscious mind only has 2 buckets. It has one bucket that's everything you know. So that bucket is known. And this other bucket is everything else, not unknown. And so to the subconscious, it has one job only. And that job is to keep you alive. And it does it by the law of association.
Okay.
This is like that. And it says, if I bring you more stuff that's in the known bucket, you are likely to continue to stay alive. Unfortunately, the flaw in the system is your subconscious can't judge or analyze. That only happens in the big prefrontal cortex. So it has no idea if the things that it's guiding you towards, those familiar things, those known things, it has no idea if they're bringing you joy or bliss or misery or anger or frustration. It can't evaluate that. It says, oh, what's known is safe because you're alive.
So let me bring you more of that.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I feel a little bit better that now I dated some people just because it helped me stay alive. Like
Right, because that's all it was trying to do. And so from that place you go, okay. So in some sense, you have to think that there's the low bar of the subconscious. Am I alive? Right?
Yeah.
Survival. But most people aren't in survival. Most people we talk to have to make the jump from simply surviving into thriving.
Yeah, thriving, yes.
Right? And so the place where you're able to do that is by having an inner shift. And this inner shift is what changes your outer world experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you have an inner shift. And so we always say, look, we're guides to love. Like, we don't give our clients something they don't have. We're the guide, because everybody's love imprint is going to be a little bit unique to them. There are certainly love imprints that we see over time, or there's similar languaging, there are themes, but the way they play out their strategies, two people could have the same love imprint, and they can have very different strategies.
Oh, interesting.
With that love imprint. Just like two siblings can be very different growing up in the same family.
Yeah. Wow.
Or 3 or 5 siblings, and they're all a little bit different. And that's some of that is character and personality, but a lot of it is the decisions that we make. So who here was raised to believe in Santa Claus?
Right.
No, not me. I'm going to put my hand down. I was raised Jewish, so I wasn't raised to believe in Santa Claus. Okay, so I'll ask. So Leonka, I'm going to ask you. So you were raised to believe in Santa Claus when you were a kid? Okay, so at some point you were told the truth that Santa Claus didn't exist. You found it out. You found it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so were you upset then?
No.
You weren't?
No. I think I just kind of landed on that was the truth. I don't think anyone told me. I think I just landed on it one day.
You kind of figured it out for yourself. So it wasn't like some traumatic whatever.
No.
Are you disappointed that Santa Claus isn't real? Because you really believed in Santa Claus when you were little. You grew out of it.
Yeah, I grew out of it.
Are you still upset about that in any way? Are you disappointed?
No.
You're just kind of like, oh no, that's not real.
Yeah. And energetically, you knew it wasn't real, probably.
Yeah, right. I'm all intuitive.
Right.
No, I mean, it was, very matter of fact.
There are some beliefs we have, right, that when they change, we just let them go. We go, oh, well, Santa Claus isn't real. In the moment, maybe we feel duped, or we feel a little upset, or we're like, what? But then we go, oh, okay, whatever. And we move on, and it doesn't affect us.
Yeah.
We grow into adults.
Yeah.
Other beliefs, though, that are very sticky. We call these emotional stories, right?
Okay.
Because the brain is really great at creating a narrative, really great at creating meaning by creating a story. Well, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, so therefore, this must be true.
I think I created a story around Santa Claus. So I was like, oh, but the magic of it is real.
There you go.
I love that.
So I kept it has a
story.
spirit alive, right? So I created a story about it to make it feel better to, whenever I to share stuff with my son, or like, oh, and all the movies, the magic of Santa Claus is real, right?
Exactly.
So that's how I kept it real.
And that's a useful story.
Yeah, sure.
It's useful. And so we have emotional stories that are useful, and we have emotional stories that don't serve us because they don't help us live the life we want to live.
Okay.
And so when we think about these limiting beliefs, the reason why I use Santa Claus as an example is because if you were raised to believe in Santa Claus, you really believed, but you don't now, and you're not thinking about, oh, that's too bad that Santa Claus doesn't exist, or whatever, or you carry the magic forward, or however you sort of deal with it. It's not some big thing. You used to believe something and now you don't. Like when we think about limiting beliefs about love, for example, I used to believe all men would cheat. I thought all men would. And I remember when I started dating Matthew, I mean, he had his hypnotherapy practice, and he had an office in Beverly Hills, and most of his clients were women, and he'd be, at his office until 9 or sometimes 10 o'clock at night. I never had any like, oh my gosh, what's he up to? Like not even like nothing. Didn't.
Nice.
Yeah, that belief, I'd already changed that limiting belief before connecting with him. Mm-hmm. And so when you start looking at these meanings that we've assigned to things, we can start deciding, do we want to hold on to that meaning? Because the meanings are malleable. Like when we talk about your love imprint is formed in your family of origin, it's not the responsibility of your parents, it's yours. Because your love imprint is something that you made meanings of. You were taking full responsibility for these big grown-ups around you, and you thought, What's wrong with me? And you made a decision about yourself long before you knew who you were, who you really were, and how the world works.
Mm.
And we're moving through the world as if you're struggling in love, you're still moving through the world as if it's true. That decision you made as a small kid, you're still picking somebody that matches that core wound because that core wound is familiar, that familiar dynamic. And so when we look at wanting to change that pattern, the first thing you have to understand is, what is it? What's that love imprint? And so that's in the first part of the book, and that first part of awareness.
Okay.
Then the second section in the book is called transformation. Da, da, da.
Because it's time to make that inner shift.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because now it's time to make the inner shift. So a lot of the book has stories and client examples and
Lots of
all kinds of
stories.
stuff, but at the end of every chapter there are exercises. And the
Okay.
exercises are key, right? In the awareness part, it's a lot of questions. So you can answer them about yourself. So you start to discover things about yourself. It's diagnosing your love imprint at the end of the first section, at the end of chapter 4. And then in transformation, we start giving you a lot of these, what we call pattern interrupts.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So there's a lot of ideas about how to change a thought pattern. And one of the hardest ways to do it is to just sort of push through and think your way through it. It's like,
I've tried
I'm
that.
gonna force this to change, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a lot of work. It's like Sisyphus rolling the rock up the hill. It just keeps rolling back down. Instead, you want to create little spaces of interruption, because science has proven over time that the more you do an action, the closer the neurons that are connected to that action get in your brain. The more you fire off that pattern, the closer these neurons get, and it creates a very well-worn groove. And you've got to interrupt that groove and show your brain a new way of being.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to keep interrupting and interrupting and interrupting until at some point you're faced with that same situation and you go, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. And you make a new choice. And that's where you take responsibility and you take your power back. So one of the great pattern interrupts we have is noticing and discovering your limiting beliefs and shifting them. And we do it through something we call the bracelet exercise. So you get a stretchy bracelet.
I love this.
Or a hair tie,
Or a hair
ribbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever you like, and you wake up in the morning and you intentionally put it on one of your wrists. I always
Okay.
like to start with the right wrist. And during the day, if you notice yourself having that thought, you stop, you say to yourself 3 times, cancel, cancel, cancel.
Okay.
You take the bracelet off, you put it on the other wrist, and as you're putting it on the other wrist, you say an affirmation that shifts that thought, right? And so you're moving that bracelet ideally back and forth all day long because you're noticing how often you have that thought and you're interrupting it and you're
Yes.
giving yourself a new way of thinking about it.
Yeah, so this is a tool, right, to take something that's unconscious, to bring it into consciousness, to shift it into a new thought pattern. So for example, I use my limiting belief that I used to have that all men would cheat, right? Take it off. Oh, all men would cheat. Ooh, take it off, right?
Love it.
Cancel, cancel. And then my affirmation was, the men I love are loving me respectfully.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. I've
love
heard a
the
little
men I
version.
love
Yes.
are loving me respectfully. And I don't have them right here, but we actually partnered with the launch of the book. We partnered with a jewelry company out of Asheville, North Carolina. They're called Soulku, Soulku.
How cool.
And you can go to soulku.com and get a Love on Purpose bracelet with sacred gemstones. So it's
Oh my
all
gosh.
sacred gemstone jewelry that they have at Soulku. They're all handmade by moms. Is that the cutest thing
Oh,
ever?
cool. Yes.
And when your bracelet comes, it's mounted on a little card in the packaging, and it'll say the person's name who assembled your piece will be on there. So it's signed by the mom who made it.
I love that.
And there's 2 kinds. There's one that's rose quartz with rose wood, a stretchy bracelet, and the other is moss agate and robles wood. And so we picked a green stone for the more I would say it's a little bit more masculine or feminine choices, but I like the
And
green
it's
a
like
lot,
the heart
actually.
chakra.
Yeah, exactly. We aligned it with the hot chakra. We picked something green, and of course,
Very
rose
neat.
quartz for love. But remember, the most important relationship you have is with yourself. So this
Yeah.
is about transforming your relationship with you, because if you want somebody to treat you lovingly and kindly and with compassion, then you have to speak to yourself that way. We hear it all the time. Speak to yourself like someone you love. But how do you learn to do that? This bracelet exercise is literally the tool that changes those negative thoughts into positive ones. And one of the reasons why this was so important is because back in 2000, the year 2000, so
Eh.
5 years ago, I actually would make resolutions back then, and I decided I was going to do my first triathlon, and I did. And so we were one of those swim, bike, and run events, and I did many of those events. But that first year, I was also rereading actually, as I'd found it in the 90s, the Louise Hay book, You Can Heal Your Life, which was
Yeah.
so transformative for me. And so while I was swimming, biking, and running, I had made up a little I love and approve and accept myself song. So I'm running and I'm swimming and I'm biking. And I was just the whole time singing my song about loving and approving and accepting myself. And all these seemingly miraculous things started happening. And I literally had to go back and go, wait, something changed. What is it? And I realized it's that I spent so many hours singing
Yeah.
how much I love and approve and accept myself, because I grew up literally love starved in a family that didn't shower me with love and approval and acceptance. And so it's one of these tools that's one of our favorite things to give somebody, because you can do it with anything. But if you want a Soul Coup bracelet, go check them out at soulcoup.com.
Yeah, fun.
Just search for the Love on Purpose bracelets. They're really special and dynamic, and those sacred gemstones were again chosen with intention to help you on your journey to
Yeah,
love
make sure you've
yourself.
got some of those in the newsletter too.
Yeah, I've heard a portion of the kind of like the stretchy band before. It was like, oh, and then do this whenever you have like a negative thought, maybe replace that with a positive thought. I love that y'all took it a step further. You say cancel, cancel, cancel. So that's a declaration out loud, because action always imprints better.
And then through all the tapping too.
And then also, yeah, but the seeing it on the other arm, I think is very profound too, because then you realize, man, rather than just kind of being able to gloss over that affirmation and, being able to integrate that into your body is really like, I can see how it can be life-changing, because yeah.
I mean, I don't like to poo-poo somebody else's, tool or whatever, but we just don't do anything harsh. Like I had enough harsh in my life. And so I know that snap snap it on your Like, no, that to me is harsh.
Yeah.
And I just don't do harsh. Like everything here is about love. So everything has to be loving. Every tool that we have is about really moving into the ease of being in the energy of love. And so the bracelet exercise is about moving it back and forth. Because sometimes people go, well, what do you do once it's on the other arm? And I go, well, then if you have that negative thought again, you pull it off the left arm and you move it to the right.
Yes.
The idea is you're moving it back and forth all the time throughout the day in the beginning, but the goal is maybe just to get through an hour not moving the bracelet. Maybe 3 hours, maybe 5, maybe a full day.
Beautiful.
And we would say your goal eventually is to not move that bracelet for 40 days.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because 40 is a mystical number. It's in every sacred text.
I love that.
And so, we hear all the time it takes 21 days to create a habit. That's true, but it's not integrated until 40 days. So 21 days is the tipping point, in other words, but it's not totally like the glue's not dry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's 40 days in Lent for sure. And we're doing Lent right now. Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
40 days in Lent, 40,
40 years wandering the desert.
The Jews wandered the desert for 40 years. It rained for the flood, the great
40
flood.
days and 40 nights. Yep.
For Noah's Ark, right? So it's literally in every sacred text. And so 40 is that sacred number where you can, if you can go, and I would even celebrate if you can go 40 hours, right? That's
right. Love it.
You can sleep with it, right? Can you go 40 hours? But really getting that 40 days, and then you want to pick then pick another one. I wouldn't do all of your whatever, I had a lot of limiting beliefs. So it's like, I wouldn't do them all. You'd be moving that all the time. So pick
Yes.
one thing to work on, to
Mhm.
change,
I love
and
it.
then move to something else, and then move to something else, and then move to something else. I find that it's like, everybody wants their transformation to be like going in a microwave instead of the oven.
Good-
And I
good
would
point.
say you really want to do this like you're in the oven, because what are you going to do with a half-baked turkey? Nothing. It's like you can't put it back in the fridge and you can't eat
Give
it.
the skin to the dog.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to really cook the turkey the full way. And
Yes,
so
yes.
there's no microwave for this stuff, because as you're transforming, I don't think people understand that when you just transform one negative thought, the one that you became the first aware of or limiting belief, just transforming that shows you that you can make that change. And so the next one happens
Oh, that's
easier,
exciting.
and the next transformation is easier and easier and easier, because they compound and add up. It's like that when you hear all the time these motivational speakers saying, oh, feel the fear and do it anyway. There's something, again, that's a little harsh with that, because if sometimes you're not supposed to do something because your gut will always tell you, right? Don't listen to your mind. Your mind will lie to you all the time. Don't believe everything you think. But what you feel in the moment is always true for you. You can trust your feelings in that moment. And so building that trust with yourself is part of that process of moving through a transformation to trust yourself in a new way and to deepen that relationship with yourself so you can count on you. Because, we're funny as people. If we have options and we have choice in our behavior, we'll always choose the thing that brings us the most joy. The problem is that most people think they don't have any choice. And so many of these exercises, particularly in that middle section, the transformation section, are about learning to trust yourself and building confidence from the inside out, not just doing it anyway.
Yeah, knowing that you actually can be a deliberate
That's beautiful.
creator of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that so much. So we talked about the first section, awareness, and then the second section, that inner transformation. Let's talk about that last section.
Yeah.
So the last section is the one everybody wants to jump to, right? Because the last section
Yeah.
is
Where's the
manifestation.
love?
It's
Well, and
manifestation,
that's the
right?
shortcut.
We all want to jump to manifestation, and you need awareness and you need transformation first. You need to know where you are. We always use
You
this.
set us up.
Exactly. You always need to, if you go to the mall and you're looking for the fancy luggage store, you want your Tumi luggage, right? And you walk up to the map at this new mall you've never been at, and somebody wipes off the "You Are Here" spot on the map. So you don't know where you are. So you got to wander through this mall, hope you're going to stumble upon that store, right? Awareness is the "You Are Here" spot. So you know where you are. And then manifestation is, so this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going. And we really guide you through creating that vision in a lot of different ways. Because one of the things that's really important in long-lasting love is that you share values, is that you believe the same things are important, or at least you have enough similarities in your values that when life throws you curveballs, because it will, we all know that, whether you're single or in a couple, stuff happens that we don't have control. And so when that happens, your partner stuff comes up, your stuff comes up, you have different strategies, maybe different emotional reactions to what's happening, to the stress in your life. And if you don't both believe the same thing is important, it's going to drive a rift between you. We've worked with so many clients who were divorced, and they said, well, when we first met, everything was great. It was a really wonderful relationship. It was really great for about 15 years. And then this thing happened. And then suddenly we weren't on the same page and we didn't have the same reaction and we couldn't stop fighting and the relationship ended. And so part of the selection process is being able to find somebody who shares your vision, who shares your values. One of the funny things when we were early dating, I said to Orna, and I can't remember what we were talking about, but I said, you know what? I never want to retire and I want to live to 100. And Orna looks at me and goes, sign me up. Right? We were like both on board with that plan. One of the other things that's really important to both of us, separate to us ever coming together, is that our lives are fully integrated, meaning the work we do is a reflection of who we are. We don't have a job
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
then fuels us to do something else. And I have no problem with people who make that choice, right?
Sure.
If you want to make money and use the money to fuel all your activities and your hobbies and your interests, that's a great way to do it. But for us, our work has to be a reflection of who we are. So of course, after, being engaged for a year and a half and a month before we're getting married, we decide to form a business together about love.
Actually, we didn't decide.
Well, yes.
I always joke we do love on purpose, but business by accident, because we started working together because we had this opportunity to speak together. And that just sort of showed up, and we took this meeting, and this guy in Hollywood with this spa and had this great space next door that he'd taken over to do these monthly motivational talks. And somebody recommended us. And we realized right there in real time in the meeting, he just assumed we already did stuff together. We had never done anything together. And so, we're not dummies. We said yes. He gave us a date. We were going to be the second, speakers at this new thing he was starting to do. And we're like, okay, we have the date, and our people call your people. Great, great, great. We go down to the car, and we're like, what are we going to talk about? And so it took a little bit of time and thought. And eventually I was like, well, why don't I share, why don't we talk about how we created this relationship, and I'll share my journey to you, and you can share your journey to me. And we had this opportunity to make an offering. And so we decided to put together a weekend workshop. We'd offer at this spa at the, at the end of the talk. And we called the workshop Creating Love on Purpose.
I love it so much.
Yeah, we had no idea we were starting. We didn't know that was going to be a business. We didn't know what it was, but it was something that was really important for us to do. And at the end of the workshop, the response we got from the participants blew our mind. We were like, wow, we're really onto something. And yeah, we started working together and creating Love on Purpose. I mean, the other, our individual businesses phased out over another year and a half or so. And I remember when we made the commitment to just go full in, and that's when a lot of things sort of blossomed and changed. And
that's right around when Jeneth came into our
I was just going to say that. Cool. If you look in the back of the book in the acknowledgments, Jeneth is acknowledged as somebody who helped. And I have to read it. I know we're I don't know how long you guys stay on.
Orna is acknowledged in my dragon book.
Oh, how fun, y'all. Wow, I know the time frame on that. This is cool. This is really, really cool.
Okay, I'm going to try not to tear up.
Oh, girl.
Jeneth Blacker, thank you for your friendship and endless support in helping us reach the masses with our mission. You handed us the toolbox to build our platform. We are forever grateful.
Oh, gosh.
So Jeneth literally gave us the keys to building a platform, because she taught us before anybody knew what the hell a telesummit was. She started hosting them, and I reached out to her. Matthew's like, what, that thing that Jeneth has you on, how does she do that? And how does that work? And I was like, well, let's find out. And it was one of these things where we hosted our own telesummit. It's really how we built our platform. We called it the Love on Purpose Revolution. And one of the first people we got was John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Once we had John, we could literally get anybody. So we would interview 30 to 32 experts, and we'd take 6 months out of the year. Half the year was to do the event. And we did that for 5 years, starting in 2011. So it seems like ancient history now, but Jeneth, we're just so grateful. And your friendship and your support has always just meant so much. Not just in our business, but in our lives. I mean, you hold a very special place in our lives.
Well,
so magical, y'all.
And it's mutual.
Yeah.
I love them as much as they love me.
Oh, how wonderful. And that's another testament to how powerful this work really is. I mean, if you're sitting on this line right now thinking, I'm just stuck and there's no other way, think about where Orna was when she was making that prayer to God and reaching out to sitting here with the book. Think about how the telesummits back then and how much you guys have influenced and just loved on each other to create these beautiful, beautiful platforms and messages for the world, really changing the world with your messages into fruition. I love that so much. And so just have to believe and keep putting one foot in front of the other. I find it super inspiring on all levels.
Yeah,
I
and I
think
know
it's
that.
always ultimately, I just think it's always a good time to have more love in the world. And that's always our
Yes.
mission, right? To have more love. And now more than ever, I think now more than ever, because focusing on love is something that you can do and that you, when then you can be in the driver's seat of that so that you align with more people that are where you are. And it isn't just about a romantic partner, it's also about the communities that you're
Yes.
part of and the communities you
That's-
build to be part of.
Yes.
Because I know for Jenneth, you love building community. And for us, we've had our Love on Purpose community. And I think when you're part of a community, you stop feeling isolated. You know, we had those horrific fires here in our where we live. We were in Los Angeles. And the fires that happened in January were devastating, like apocalyptic. And I made a 5-point plan to share with our community about how to move through tragedy, you know, from tragedy to triumph. And the first thing on that list was don't isolate. Don't isolate. If you're worried about anything, the state of the world, your life, something personal, something global, it doesn't matter. Go and connect with other people because that's how communities are supposed to come together and lift one another up. And so don't isolate. It's so important.
Wow. Yeah,
Where's your-
I think, the tools in the book are very much for anybody
Mhm.
in any relationship.
Yeah, clearly.
It could be just finding friends, to be honest. I mean, because you still have to, every single relationship is that like reflection back at you. So
Good
if everyone's like that's in the book.
Good point.
And if everyone's just fighting you, then well, there's something maybe that needs to change.
There's
Well,
some more
yeah,
awareness to be had there.
Yeah.
I will say the book is for any relationship status. It will, because it deepens your relationship with yourself. So it'll deepen your relationship with your partner. So if you're partnered up and you want more connection in your relationship, there's one chapter on dating. So, but you can also use some of the things in that chapter to spice up and start dating your
I like
spouse.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So it really is our work at Creating Love on Purpose really focuses on singles looking for love, but the book we wrote purposefully for any relationship status and also anybody that has a heart. We've worked with every kind of person on the LGBTQ, plus, every kind of human. If, we always say if you have a heart and you're looking for love, then we can help you because that we work with you. If you're the client, then all the things that we work on come from inside of you and we're just the guides. And this is really our life's work in a book, that all the things that we could put in a book. We have like our Walters, what we call our Walters method processes that you can't read, right? You can't read and
Because they're experiential.
yeah. And so
Love
those
that.
experiential things where we guide a client in session, those are not in the book. I think that was the hardest part about writing it was to figure out what actually can go in the book and be of benefit and what has to stay out and stay in our coaching practice.
That brings
There's
that
so
brings
much
me
in
to
here.
sorry. I was going to say
I'm
that
sorry.
brings me to a good question. Is in the book, is there also other ways to work with you to maybe to get those experiences? Because now I'm like, ooh.
Yes. I mean, well, look, if you're looking for us, we're easy to find. We're at loveonpurpose.com. At the end of every chapter, there's a QR code
Cool.
for
Okay.
bonus materials. And, finding us is easy. You can also, if you just forget Love on Purpose, well, I think that's easier than remembering Orna and Matthew. But if you Google Orna and Matthew, although I think there's like a Dr. Orna and one of the people on the show was
Right.
Matthew. That's
Right.
like that Love is Blind show. I was like, because I have a Google alert for Orna and Matthew. I was like, it was like that Love is Blind a few years back. And I was like, what? So one of the psychologists on the show was named Orna and one of the contestants
How funny.
was named Matthew. And I was like, wait, this is messing with our SEO. Darn it.
That's how I feel about things often. I've claimed this name. How there dare be another Jenneth in the world?
Exactly.
Actually, I think I was the one that was like, when we met, you said your name was Jen. And then I remember I think
Right.
it's intuitive. I was like, is your name Jennifer? And you're like, no, my name is actually Jenneth. And I was like, that's cool. Why are you using that?
Right.
I think I was
Because
the one
I
that
was
gave you the
hiding.
little kick in the tush to be unique and use Jenneth.
Yeah, well, I was dynamically hiding. And that was my way of fitting in on this reality. And now with our inner circle and they're all misfits, and we all love each other so much.
And all three of us have unique names.
I know.
Leonka, Orna, and Jennifer.
Yeah.
And Matthew, to be honest, is not often used. It's more like shortcutted or an initial or something like that. So
Yeah, that's fine. I don't need to be unique in that way. I have my own uniqueness, so I'm good.
You don't need a unique name because it's all within.
I appreciate you bringing me into the club, though.
Well, I will tell you, because I do have a unique name, and my name has very special meaning. My Orna actually means moving light. It's Hebrew, and it means
It's
moving
beautiful.
light. And I looked up the name of my beloved. So I looked up the meaning of Matthew, and the meaning is gift from God. And I always say Matthew is 100% my gift from God.
From God. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad would say it's a good biblical name.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Well, you guys, the book is everywhere where books are sold. We will have multiple links for you in the YouTube caption. We'll have links for you in the newsletter. And wow.
Oh, and it's also available on audiobook, and we actually are hired to be the narrators. So it's our voices reading the book. So yeah, literally anywhere books are sold, anywhere audiobooks are sold. And if you're looking to get a very special charge out of the bracelet exercise, and we explained it to you, you can go to soulku.com.
And I'll go ahead and put that in the newsletter too.
And this feels like a full circle moment.
It is. Y'all take it in. I love it.
I remember at the very beginning when I
going. It's sort of a sacred spiral.
There you go. There you go.
No, I like Leonka was doing an infinity. I like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think back to that version of me when you reached out and we got on the phone, and you're like, so I want to have you on this, it was the telesummit. I didn't know what that was. I think you described it with some other words, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't actually know what I'm doing right now. Can I think about it and get back to you? Like, I didn't say yes right away because I really was in this transition period. And I think on some level you worried I wasn't going to ever call you back, but like about 2 weeks later, I
had to call. Yes. It was like a nudge though. I mean, most of the people that I bring on that I want to interview, I get this like inner nudge, and we call it intuitive. And since Orna was already publicly out there as intuitive, there was something inside of me that just had that nudge.
Well, I mean, not only was it, those early connections certainly had to do with creating something to be a benefit to other people in the world, but I think the biggest benefit of our connection is our friendship, which I cherish.
Of course.
Than words could never say.
Oh, I heart you.
How beautiful.
I heart you too. Wait, there we go. Actually,
any last words?
We do it this way. There we go.
Oh yeah, what's the new there?
Is that what all the kids are doing?
Millennial ones.
All the kids are doing it.
No, it's like this with the little ones.
Oh, that's pretty. So yeah, any last words or parting words for us today?
I would say that one of the things that we didn't really cover is this idea of getting into the driver's seat of your love life. And if you are somebody who's dating and frustrated with it, what you'll really get out of this book is learning to date from your power instead of your pain. If people tend to date from their pain. So if we can help you, there's lots of ways to work with us, and you can find us at loveonpurpose.com, and of course the book anywhere books are sold.
Yay. Fabulous.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I feel very giggly now.
I know.
Like something about it, just like
it must be in your presence for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you guys. We have just a couple announcements. Do you want to share that one?
Sure. We want to just remind everybody that we always believe in giving back. So a portion of the proceeds go back to riseandup.com. They're doing a lot of great things right now. They refurbish computers and laptops and tablets to send to other people that are in need. So for use, mainly students, for use in education and wellness. And then also we have a few things that we always highlight. We highlight our Mystique Society. And last night they met. So Judith can give us a couple highlights about that.
Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. But we ended up getting on the topic of tree hugging last night.
How fun.
And how it's like just nature teaches you. And it was just so epically beautiful. I got off the phone. I was just bebopping around.
You said, yeah, y'all met for like 2 hours. No one wanted to get off the line.
Yeah, we're gonna make a little play date so that we can actually have an earlier call at some point so that we can go out in nature
I love
together.
that.
Just take our Zooms in the backyard or something good like that.
I love that so much.
And we're putting a Facebook group together, which is another big highlight for the group. So thank you guys we actually have that set already today. You'll get an invitation later today if you are listening to this. And we meet once a month and it's absolutely phenomenal. And again, like I said, it's kind of a group of weirdo and misfits and those of us that are really open to be whatever we are without trying to fit in and collar yourself Jen so that you fit in the box of this reality. So Mystique, we also have the chakras. It's a newer program. It's with the harmonics of the chakras. And that is up and been in every newsletter. It's just $27 and it's 7 hours of various different hertz frequencies. So if that calls you and it calls your chakras, there you go.
We also have the marketplace where we sell different, fifth dimensional jewelry. I was about to talk about that. One for weight loss, one for just basically resetting yourself. There's even one for social media if you have some, scarcity or some hidden stuff where you're not really wanting to get out there. It's really about confidence and just being bravery. We also have the Amazon shop where we've been sharing lots of times Jennifer will share that on the Morning Brew with Woo and feature a product that we feel is more beneficial. Maybe it has some benefits of not being just straight up Western medicine. She's got a nutrition background.
This is stuff that I've already bought myself.
And does the research on.
A ton of research on. And love them so much. And these headphones are on there because I live in these and do all my hypnosis in them too.
It's awesome.
Cool.
She has a book that she mentioned, which was the 7 Dragons to a Healthy
Guide to a
Limitless Mind. Thank you. And Falling in Stilettos, which is a novel and takes you through. It's a practical novel that has, She's like, oh yeah, my books. Orna is mentioned in that first one. And so I just wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about that as well.
Fabulous. Yeah, I guess that's it for today. We'll be back next Tuesday with Suzanne Alexandria. And so many people have written in about her last call.
It was phenomenal.
Just like, we've got to get her on for another encore. She's so real and authentic and really takes you for a ride. And this next call is really going to have more of a focus on the Akashic records that she does instead of Mary Magdalene. So that's coming up on Tuesday. You guys, thank you. We meet the same place, same time, every Tuesday and Thursday. Join us here. We'd love your comments on YouTube.
Be sure to like.
Yeah, tell us your favorite part of the show, what really changed you, what made you grow. We'd love to hear it. So make sure you subscribe. And if you hit the bell on YouTube, you also get notifications.
You can always reach us at team@howhustle.com and be sure to sign up for our newsletter at www.howhustle.com. See you next.
Bye, everyone.